So I got my wireframe for my quiz project mostly framed out. I do have a little bit of a loophole in my logic at this point. And if you remember, the idea is that on question one, we can buzz in by pressing a key, either Z or backslash, or whatever you set yours to. I'm going to go into my buzzer, and if you remember, what we do is when we buzz in, it sets the active player to true, and then it also destroys the actor, which keeps from the other player buzzing in on top of you and taking over your turn. And maybe that's like a mechanic that we can play with in this quiz later, but for now, I definitely want to be able to... it works great. The only issue is that when we're in question one, if I buzz in as player one and I get the right or wrong answer, and now it kicks us over to scene two, player one is still actively set to true. So player two could buzz in as true or active, and then the points will be earned by both players. And so at this point, what I need to do is I need to build a little bit of logic, and I think the place to do it, I could really make my own a separate actor. I could do it in a number of places, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow the buzzer. And on the top of the buzzer, before the logic for when we buzz in, I'm going to do a simple change attribute. So I'll drag and drop, and I'll sneak it right above, so that the first thing that this buzzer does is it's going to set both player one and player two to false. Okay, so it's passively going to do that. As soon as it's on stage, it's just going to switch that off. So I'll set player one to, and remember, we got this is kind of an unusual one. We hit this little expression editor equals, and we'll type in this case, it's going to be false. And I'll hit the check mark. We don't want to use capitals here. We want everything lowercase. So we're changing the player one attribute to false. I want another change attribute, and this time we're going to change player two to expression false, and I'll hit the check mark to apply it. So here's the logic. Whenever this buzzer pops up on stage, the first thing that it does is sets both players to false. Then, depending on which key you press, it sets that player to true and destroys the actor. So if that's the case, every time, every scene is going to have the buzzer on it temporarily until somebody buzzes in. And each time it shows up on screen, the first thing that it does is set each player to false. So then we run into this situation where if I'm in question one and I've buzzed in as player one, I'll hit the preview button and I'll buzz in as player one. According to my logic, I can get the answer right. It takes me to scene two, and in just a moment, I'm going to duplicate question one, and I'm going to use it for question two because there's no reason I shouldn't take my mock-up, and I made it so that it's scalable. When I hit question two, there's going to be a buzzer here, and the first thing that buzzer did was set both players, no matter which one it was active, both of them are set to false. And that should solve all of our loopholes in our logic. So I'm going to go back. This time I'm going to go to the home scene, and from the home scene I want to make sure I'm looking at the scenes tab. This is the place where I can select question two. I'll delete it. I had question two there just to kind of work out the logic of my entire mock-up here, but what I can do now is I can select question one. I can hold down the option key and click and drag, or I can select the scene and Command C to copy and Command V to paste, and I'll just rename these. I'll call this one question two. I'll call this one question three. And I'll go back to either my loading screen or my question one screen. For now, it doesn't matter. This is question one. And what I'll do, just so that I understand that there's a change in scene, the system that I'll use for now until I get my questions in place is that question one, the right answer is going to be the first question. And this is, again, just so that I can test this. I'll go to question two, and I'll set question two. So this is answer one. Answer two will be correct. Answer three will be wrong. And again, this is on question two. I'll go to question three. And currently question three is set to wrong. So now I should be able to test this. I should be able to run through three questions. I should be able to buzz in as player one, player two, and compete with myself right now to see if the logic works. So I'll preview this And let me double click and I'll preview it from the loading screen. So this is going to take me to question 1. I'll buzz in as player 1. My buzzer disappears and I get the right answer, and now it's going to take me to question 2. Question 2, I'll buzz in as player 2. I'll get the wrong answer, and it'll take me to question 3. I'll buzz in as player 2 again and get the right answer. I'm back to 0, and I'm pretty convinced that all of my logic is working just fine. So now I have a working model of the entire quiz. I can start to layer in different kinds of features, different kinds of mechanics, and really experiment with the gameplay. But I'll worry about that after I build in a real simple interface. So that's the basic nuts and bolts of coming up with a wireframe for this project in GameSalad. I'll give a really brief presentation on managing the questions in the interface and integrating those into GameSalad. But the technical, the heavy lifting is really happening in the wireframe. So we'll catch up in the next presentation where I'll mock up an interface, and then you should have everything you need to know to complete this project successfully. Have fun with it. I'll see you soon.